So the issue I'm working on today is that I have no spark on this 520H. Let's get started. First thing I did was try replacing this coil. I just got one off eBay. Didn't immediately solve the problem, but I figured out that neither coil is faulty by taking power directly from positive terminal and going to the positive terminal on this coil that actually allowed the engine to run. So I'm actually thinking there's a problem with the wiring from the ignition switch through this 9-pin connector and then to the coil. So what I'm looking for is 12 volts on the positive side of the coil. Now that 12 volts comes in this yellow wire, which goes into this wiring harness through this 9-pin connector into the ignition switch. I think the problem is right here. I've cleaned it with QD spray. Can't quite get it to come in, but just to be sure, I'm gonna test it with this voltmeter. So I've got it set to 12 volts. It's just a cheap one from Walmart. Nothing special. Turn the ignition on. And I'll put the black to ground, red on the coil. We're only seeing about 32.32 volts, which is not, yeah, that's not going to work. So let's test continuity here. Let's see what this looks like. So that's telling me there is connection there. So maybe that's not the issue. Maybe the issue is inside here where we can't see it. Nope, still getting a connection there. Next thing let's test is, are we getting the full 12 volts through this connection? So black on the ground, positive in the connector, and change this to voltmeter. No, not on that side. What about right on the ignition switch? Okay, that's a better number. So we got power at the ignition switch, which is good. Do we have 12 volts on this side? Yes, we do. That's going to be the issue then. We have continuity, but it looks like we have a drastic loss in voltage. Nope, not anymore. So one of the most frustrating parts about working on these old tractors, or maybe even old wiring in general, is if you move something around too much, sometimes you get connection, sometimes you lose connection. In this case, we regained connection through this connector, sending 12 volts through here and back to the coil, which actually give us spark again. So that's good, that's what we want. But to make it so we don't have this problem in the future, I'll bypass this connector by adding a wire on the side, taking these wires off, connecting it, and we won't have this problem when we're bouncing around trying to use this tractor. So to bypass that connector, what I've got is just a short piece of wire of a similar gauge, a couple connectors. I'll strip everything, put it all together, and hopefully this tractor will be all set. All right, so I've gotten everything almost tidied up. I just want to give it a quick test, make sure it runs before sealing everything in, putting everything back. So, quick start up. So it looks good. Spark kind of looked a little funny there with the video and the frame rate, but you can see what I've done here. Pretty much bypassed the 9-pin connector. There's actually 2 wires coming in from this side, and those same 2 wires actually go back to the ignition switch. So I'll get it all tidied up, back together. So you can see our new condenser, our new coil, but really the problem was that connector. So make sure you check everything out before you start buying parts. I do like the way these old Onans run. Thanks for watching.